Welcome to Mikate at 11, the news that needs no flavoring whatsoever. I'm your host, Tangawisi Udishish, but today I'm going to talk as just Blako Aziz-Owisa. I want to talk about what has happened with George Floyd, and I just want to share some of my sentiments or whatnot. I really just like to be just like funny and try to make jokes because I enjoy it. I'm a comic. But this has been kind of my great improv team, Bantu Boyz. They did a really good job of having a forum talking about it. We did a 2-hour forum talking about this. I just kind of wanted to share my own personal thoughts to the Bantu Boyz page because I think on our page we kind of shared some of it, but I told Patrick and Julian I wanted to do something where I'm specifically talking about it. So I'm going to talk about George Floyd. I'm going to talk about Kaepernick. I'm going to talk about the question of race. I'm going to talk about American roots or white supremacy roots. And I'm going to talk a little bit about science and how science plays a huge part in where we are in this like American system and construct or whatnot. I'm gonna give some like data and whatnot. So just bear with me. Thanks for watching. So with George Floyd, we see what the video and we see what's happened to him, and I'm just gonna give my thoughts like how I feel. I'm very upset. Sometimes I can't even talk because I'm very angry. I'm very angry or whatever because you just want to knuckle up and hurt somebody, right? And so they can feel the actual pain, because I personally feel like people need to feel what you're going through so they don't do it. It's like, how do you stop a bully? You have to fight a bully, right? But when you watch the video and the last thing he says is, "I can't breathe," my first initial thought went to, wait, weren't NBA players wearing "I can't breathe" shirts like 4 or 5 years ago, right? So they were wearing those shirts 4 or 5 years ago because that means that incident happened 4 or 5 years ago. So this is a repeated action, right? And it's very interesting because Black people only make 13% of the population in the United States of America, right? This is why I like stats and analytics. 3 times more likely to be killed by a police than our white counterparts, right? United States of America is only 5% of the world's population, but 25% of the world's prison population. That's very disproportionate, especially when you're targeting Black people, Black men, right? And then the total incarceration population in the United States is at 2.4 million. That's a 500% increase over the past 30 years. So what Black people have gone through from colonization, slavery, post-deconstruction, sharecropping, right? Segregation, right? So now the past 30, 40 years, you've had to deal with the jail system, the prison system. And we all know that people that commit crime should go to jail, right? Like if you murder somebody, you should go to jail, you should go to prison, right? However, a crime doesn't allocate right or wrong. Over the past 30 years, what has happened with, I'm here in Etazini in California, in the States, we have crack and weed, right? So the past 30, 40 years, we have about 2 generations of Black men that went to jail for selling weed, where now you have white dudes that are going to make billions of dollars off of fucking weed, right? So a crime isn't really based on ethics. It's just based on laws, right? So going back to like NBA players wearing their "I cannot breathe" shirt. When Kaepernick kneeled years ago, and I think it was 16 or 17, me and my American friends were in a group chat. Ricky, Keen, and Corey, y'all know who you guys are. I didn't agree with Kaepernick. I didn't. And one of the reasons why I didn't agree with Kaepernick is the fact that people were comparing him to Muhammad Ali. And I thought that was disrespectful because Muhammad Ali belonged to a separatist group called the Nation of Islam that believed in being independent, not talking, and about action. And he wasn't funded by Nike the way Kaepernick is. Kaepernick is sponsored by a corporation. He has shoes, he has shirts, he has commercials. Muhammad Ali was being sponsored by Joe Frazier and George Foreman. They were taking care of him when he was suspended from boxing because he didn't want to go to the Vietnam War. But when Kaepernick did a peaceful kneel that wasn't hurt nobody, oh, this is the problem, this is the problem. Now that people are kicking up dust, they're like, oh, we just have a peaceful protest. To have a peaceful protest is an oxymoron. That's like, can I have gluten-free crack? It's fucking crack. You know what I'm saying? Like it doesn't work like that. A protest, you don't ask for your rights, you fight for your rights, right? And I kind of wanted to get into this idea of another thing that bothered me with Kaepernick was the fact that he had his non-black girlfriend speak up. I always wanted him to speak up, but now Kaepernick he looks like a genius now. When Kaepernick was kneeling, he's saying, hey, I don't want to bring attention to this, innocent people are being killed, and now he keeps saying it over and over and over again in this racist system, because it's a system of racism. I like to bring up the question of race, right? Like, what is race? Racism. Race is a social, political, biological construct, because there's only one race, it's a human race, right? We're all 99.9% similar. Of course, that 0.1% can be a million genes. This is my science background coming in, kicking in, or whatever, right? But if we were a different race, I couldn't procreate with a white woman, I couldn't procreate with an Asian woman, Latina woman, etc., right? So when you see this whole idea of like, oh, racism, right? Racism in this country, we all know it started with like Darwinism, this whole social construct where scientists created this whole racial order. We don't post, what do you call it? What's that era of ancient Greek, ancient Roman, where they wanted to get back into regaining their confidence of art, philosophy, and being smart because they saw the downfall of Rome and England, right? So the West was like, we have to kind of create this social order so we can instill confidence in ourselves or whatnot, right? So I read this book called Fatal Invention. It's one of the best books I recommend. And I keep telling people to read this book because it talks about the creation of race and the social construct of race. There's this one section of the book, in the beginning of the book, right? I think like maybe page 100 or something like that. The Swedish botanist, and excuse me if I mispronounce his name, Carl Linnaeus, where he said there's 4 divisions of Homo sapiens, right? Of humans, right? Excuse me, I have a little notes or whatever, right? But there's 4 variations of those Homo sapiens. You have Homo sapien americanus, which would have been like Native Americans, Homo sapien europeanus, right? So Europeans, Homo sapien Asiatic, so Asians, then Homo sapien Africans, right? So remember, race is a scientific construction to create a racial order, right? By scientists. So this is a scientist that's well respected, that's supposed to be looked at as a forward thinker. But this is a disease that has turned into a cancer, right? He said for Homo sapien Europeans, vigorous, muscular, flowing blonde hair, blue eyes, very smart, innovative, instill confidence in their people. I don't knock it because I have confidence in myself, right? But when they describe the African, Homo sapien African, right? Sluggish, lazy, black, kinky hair, silky skin, flat nose, thick lips, females with genital flap and elongated breasts. Personally, I like the elongated breast, but we're not being funny. We're being serious, right? Crafty, slow, careless, covered by grease, ruled by caprice. This is a Swedish botanist, scientist that's well respected amongst other top thinkers and philosophers of that day. This is around the 1700s, where they're constructing this racial order, right? I'm bringing this up is, the reason being is, if this is being described amongst these top leaders and rule makers when they're coming here to the Western Hemisphere to create this new law and order, of course we're going to see somebody like George Floyd get killed because they don't think of us as people. Even the whole idea of black people being 3/5 of the person, we all know that was used for voting. I just learned that yesterday with my improv group. I had no idea, right? So this whole idea of why don't they look at us as equal, this is the root and the base of the country, where they don't look at us as even people. We are slow, careless, covered by grease, ruled by caprice. So we're not even looked at equally as a person, right? So I remember that video where Nipsey Hussle, God bless the dead, where he talked about how gangbanging turns into a disease. Now it's a cancer where you can't even control it, where, oh, this person, I don't even know why I don't even like this person from this neighborhood or whatever. This is the same thing on a bigger, grander scale, right? You have people that have infiltrated, that have turned this disease into a cancer, that are judges, police officers, that are rule makers, that are doctors, right? In the healthcare system, that don't even have cultural competency when they look at somebody that looks like me as a person, you know. So, and I guess there's one more thing I wanted to talk about with when you hear people talk about I kind of talk about peaceful protesting or whatever. God bless the dead, Tupac said, "It is not my responsibility to make you feel comfortable," right?
They want me, when they first see me, to humble myself. They want me to be like this and da-da-da, just because they're scared of me. But I don't feel like that's my job, to humble myself, to show you that I'm not a threat. I'm not a threat, unless you're a threat to me. You know what I'm saying? So when people say, when you meet Pac, he's different than he is, because when somebody one-on-one, anybody one-on-one, I believe, honestly, that I can talk. I believe that I have the ability to reason, I have logic, I have compassion, I have understanding. If we talk, there's no problems. You know what I'm saying? But that's not what happens. People use what they heard in the media, and that's how they come at me. And then, you know, we got a clash.
With Pac saying that, you don't sing your way to protest, you fight for protest. If you're uncomfortable, that's not a me issue, that is a you issue. You're very happy in this system, but the system benefited off the backs of black people, African people for centuries. So what people are fighting for with George Floyd isn't because what happened to George Floyd, isn't what happened to Trayvon Martin. It's what has happened for 400, 500, 600 years, because we all know pain is transferable, right? So I don't know how this gets better, how this gets fixed, when you have a mindset of thinking this way about black people, African people. We also have to remember that the hunting of black people has been used as a sport, has been looked at as a sport for the past 400, 500 years, from the hanging of black people. And not only the fact of hanging of black people, they would hang black people, but then we all know, cut ligaments, dick, fingers off of black titties, black women's genitalia, and then put them in a jar and then go sell them, right? So there's a lack of human respectability when they look at black people, you know? So I don't know how this gets better when this is a cancer that's been, it's a 400, 500 year cancer. So I don't know. I'm just upset as everyone else. Just wanted to share my thoughts. I don't even know. I'm just very, very upset.
Like you said, it's just like everything else. Africa was full of natural resources. What they do? All the diamonds, they came and got it. All the gold, they came and got it. All the niggas, they came and got us. You know what I mean? It's the continent is raped of all its resources. So, you know what I mean? I guess the word they call it is colonialism, when they come and colonize your land and take the resources.
That nigga just thought you was a regular gangbanger.
Yeah, you know, like I said,
using words like that.
Yeah, I'm just, you know, we said it earlier. Like I educated myself. At one point I was ignorant and lost, but like you got to know yourself before you do anything. Before you can make a record, before you can have an opinion, you got to know yourself. So, you know, the same thing going on with rap music, the same thing going on with all of our culture, whether it's gang banging, whether it's trapping down south, whether it's hip hop, whatever it is. Like, you know, if a motherfucker see it as an asset or as a resource, we don't got no means to go get it. You know what I mean? Other than our little pistols and handguns, we got choppers and all that. These niggas got millions of dollars, institutions set up, like the LAPD, like the feds, like the FBI. All this is their army. And they army make it to where you can inflict your will. Meaning if a motherfucker don't want to do it from an agreement, you can come take it. If a nigga don't want to agree and do it verbally, well, you got an army to come enforce your will. So we that's what we lack. You know what I mean? We don't have no army that's gonna come protect our natural resources because our shit is divided. How, you know what I'm saying? We don't even understand how we connected because, oh, you a blood, I'm from 60s, fuck you, or you from over, I'm from 60s, fuck you, or you from A-Tray, I'm from 60s, fuck you. And that's a fucked up mentality to have. But that's the culture of where we come from. To where, like, that's why my album is titled South Central State of Mind. Cause we yeah. The reason why I say, like, you know, like my nigga J-Rock from Bonnie Hunters, I'm from 60s. You know what I'm saying? We came together with our movements. You know what I mean? Cause for a minute, it was the undertone in the street was, oh, Nipsey don't fuck with J-Rock. J-Rock don't fuck with Nipsey. Them niggas got issues and all that. So we took a natural step to just sit down and chop it, like, and I fuck with the nigga based on the type of nigga he is, not based on who he is, where he come from, based on the nigga he is before all that, and vice versa. And now, you know what I mean, I'm good over there. I can go through the Nickersons, my nigga. They know where I'm from, but it's a mutual respect. You can come to on Bryanhurst and on 10th Ave, and niggas gonna respect me.
On Slauson.
On Slauson. Huh? We was on a yeah. I was. So, you know, then that's the example we trying to set. You know, this shit been going on for decades. And a lot of niggas, that mentality grew into cancer and killed them. You know what I mean? So that's why a nigga want to reverse the mind state in our city. And that's what my whole movement is about. You know what I mean? Niggas might